last witness, Mrs. Mary Kane, the deceased wife. Mrs. Kane, are you feeling better?
I'm still ill, but I'm feeling better.
Could you enlighten the court how long you have been married to the deceased?
We've been married happily for 14 years.
Could you describe the relationship between you and the deceased?
We've been happily living together. We trust each other. We love each other.
So, do you know your husband has the habit to put a rope around his neck when having sexual intercourse?
No, we never done that during our 14 years of happily marriage.
So, the next question. Do you know the existence of Gina Queen?
Yes.
How?
After I hired a private investigator to investigate on my husband's activities, then where I know Gina Queen, her mistress.
Mrs. King, are these pictures taken by the private investigator that you hired?
Yes, those are the dirty picture of that.
Members of jury, these are the pictures taken by the private investigator that have hired by Mrs. K. The defendant and the deceased were captured together. Mrs. K, after you found out the existence of Gina Queen, did you propose a divorce?
Yes, I did propose, but he doesn't want it. He wants to reconcile.
Are you sure?
I'm very sure. He said he wants to prove it by action.
How did he prove it by action?
He said he wants to end the relationship with Gina Queen. He wants to meet her for the last time on 15 June. He went to meet her for the last time, but that was the last time I saw him. This bitch killed him.
Yes, you are to be reminded that the using of faulty language is banned from this court.
Sorry, Your
I'm sorry about the loss, Mrs. K. But could you recall the time?
If I'm not mistaken, it's around 6:30 p.m.
Okay, thank you. Members of jury, this proves that the deceased was sincerely wanted to reconcile with his wife. However, when they are just going to patch up their relationship, the deceased was killed, and it caused a great loss to Mrs. Kate. Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Defense lawyer, would you like to cross-examine the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. King, could you just tell the court, how did you meet your husband?
I've met him by arranged marriage, arranged by our parents for the business relationship.
Okay. So it was an arranged marriage.
Yes, it was.
Would you say that you are familiar with your husband's past?
During our 14 years of marriage, I'm very familiar with his past.
Have the two of you ever met prior to being paired up together by your parents?
No, we never met each other before that.
Mrs. King, allow me to ask you one question. Where did your husband graduate from?
He graduated from the University of Harvard.
In what year?
I don't know.
Mrs. Kane, you do not know much about your husband's days in university. You didn't know when he graduated from university. In fact, you've never even met him prior to being matched together by your parents. And yet, you are here in court today making bold statements and guarantees about your husband's past.
But I know him for the 14 years of our marriage.
Okay, Mrs. Kane. Would you describe your relationship with Mr. Kane as one that was built on trust and honesty?
Yes, of course, we trust each other. We tell each other everything. We love each other.
Would you say that you are fairly confident that you know about your husband's whereabouts and what he was doing most of the time?
Yes, of course. He's my husband.
And yet, you do not know he has been involved in an extramarital affair with my client?
It's not that he go find that mistress. It's she that lure him. She, disgusting.
Mrs. King, do you know you could go to jail for lying in court?
Objection, Your Honor. The defendant is threatening my witness.
Objection sustained.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I apologize, Your Honor. Allow me to rephrase the question. Mrs. Kane, if you trusted your husband, why did you hire a private investigator to snoop on your husband? If you said you were involved in a loving relationship, why was your husband also involved in an extramarital affair?
As I said, it's not his fault. It's her fault. It's because of her.
How did you feel when you find out that your husband was involved with her, my client?
Very frustrated. Very angry at her.
So you felt anger, hatred, and resentment towards my client?
Yes!
Members of the jury, Mrs. Kane is very emotionally involved in the case. She doesn't really know her husband. She is angry. She is unstable. I trust you will be able to gauge the credibility and reliability of her testimony. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Next, we may leave the witness box. Prosecution lawyer, do you have any more witness to bring in?
No more, Your Honor.
The court will adjourn to the 14th of August 2009. Court dismissed.
Court rise. Bow. Bow.
Case reference number 82341 R versus Queen 2009, second hearing. In the first hearing, we are done with the examinations and cross-examinations of the prosecution witnesses. Today, we'll begin with the defendant's counsel opening address. Defense counsel, you may begin with the opening address.
Thank you, Your Honor. Love. It's a subjective matter. Love is always seen when two loving people stay with each other, not kill each other. That is what my court counsel and I are going to prove today. Miss Gina Queen indeed loved Mr. Ralph Kane. They had been together for a few years, and before they managed to further their relationship, it stopped. My client, Miss Gina Queen, was a victim of this crime. Before the night of the murder, the late Mr. Kane was indirectly forced to stop his relationship with Miss Queen by her, his wife, Mrs. Marie Kane. And of course, my client didn't know anything about it. She didn't even know anything about the planned breakup either. So, after the late Mr. Kane had told her the heartbreaking news, she was sad. She went out of the room, cried herself out, and went back home. There was no way, ladies and gentlemen, that my poor client would have killed her beloved lover. The prosecution party claimed that my client was the one who killed Mr. Ralph Kane. But is that enough? They claim without emphasizing the high standard of proof, which is beyond reasonable doubt. There's no exact evidence that showed my client was a clear murderer of Mr. Kane. There's no solid evidence, which is the fingerprint, that proved her as a killer. Such assumption of her being a killer was only based on the fact that there was no sign of breaking in, and she was the last person that deceased met before he died. However, is that enough? Is that enough to prove her as a killer? Are these evidences fulfill the requirement of high standard of proof? Members of the jury, we, defense counsel, shall prove that my client, Miss Gina Queen, had nothing to do with this so-called murder. We shall find out that Mr. Kane
Did it engage in erotic asphyxiation and the fact that he's still engaging it? In fact, he has been engaging it since his days in the college, as my witness would prove it later. So there, ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, would you kill for the sake of love? I wouldn't do such a thing. My client wouldn't even dream to do that to her beloved Mr. K. So, how about you?